We are following breaking news this hour. Hollywood legend Robert Duvall has died. His wife announced the news on Facebook today, saying that he passed away peacefully at his home in Virginia yesterday, surrounded by love and comfort. Duvall was widely considered one of the world's greatest actors. He was nominated for 7 Oscars, winning the Best Actor trophy for his role in Tender Mercies in 1983. He also won 2 Emmys, a Golden Globes, a Screen Actors Guild Award, and a BAFTA. Duvall was known for his roles in the movies The Godfather and Apocalypse Now and the television miniseries Lonesome Dove. Robert Duvall was 95 years old. Joining us now with more on this remarkable career of Robert Duvall is film critic Richard Crouse. Thank you so much for joining us, Rich. Wish it was on better occasion. But talk about a legend. I mean, this is one of the old school actors that I know for everyone who's seen his film, at some point this guy's performance captivated you as a viewer.
60 years of making films. It is truly a remarkable career. He worked on stage for a long time before making To Kill a Mockingbird, where he played Boo Radley. Even though he didn't have a single line in that movie, he made an indelible impression. And, you know, you talk about people being affected by him. I interview people for a living. It's one of the things that I do, and I rarely ever get starstruck. But I was interviewing Robert Duvall a number of years ago. It was 10 or 12 years ago, and he was a little bit hard of hearing, so we had to sit fairly close together so that he could hear what I was saying, and we were almost sitting, directly side by side. And I would ask him a question, and he would talk, and I could hear the words coming out of his mouth. But because I was sitting next to the amazing Robert Duvall, what I was hearing was Tom Hagen from The Godfather, Frank Burns from the movie MASH, Colonel Kilgore, I would love the smell of napalm in the morning from Apocalypse Now. All these characters that were so indelible that's what I heard. I had such a hard time just keeping my concentration during this interview because he had made that much of an impact with those performances and so many others. He was truly a character actor who was also a leading man. He was someone who made things that he was in better, and an actor that People magazine called Hollywood's #1, #2 lead, because he was often the second on the call sheet, but made an indelible impression to those who were watching the films he was in.
And I can imagine when casting directors are sending out that call sheet and they're looking for a specific type of actor, they have very clear descriptions. And I remember that when I was an actor many years ago. And, I can't imagine how many times someone sends out a call sheet that probably says, we're looking for a Robert Duvall kind of actor.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what a Robert Duvall type is, though. I get that because that happens all the time. But he was so versatile, and he often played military officers. He often played characters in a position of authority. But he could really play almost anything. And I think that's how you create a career that spans 60 years, is by being able to play everything and anything. And in that interview that I did with him so many years ago, where I kind of lost my concentration a little bit, he said a lot of really interesting things, one of which, and I was glad I recorded it, one of which he said that when you are playing a character, you can't judge them. You cannot look at them and go, this guy's a bad guy, this guy's a good guy. You have to just take the character as it is. And what he said to me was, Shakespeare said, you hold a nature or a mirror up to nature. You're trying to approximate life as much as possible. Brando used to watch Candid Camera. You try and watch things as closely as you can. You learn from life and try and represent life as accurately as possible. There's no right or wrong. There's just truth and untruthfulness. And that was his guiding ethos as an actor. I also love that he is one of the few people I've ever met that could firsthand quote Marlon Brando back to me.
When you look through his resume, It's just phenomenal. I mean, besides the ones that we mentioned in the intro, you know, The Godfather, but you look at all these hits that he was in, for everything from The Natural to Apocalypse Now, the list goes on and on and on. But also, you talked about playing a bad guy. I mean, this is a guy who played Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann in The Man Who Captured Eichmann. He played Robert E. Lee in Gods and Generals, Joseph Stalin in this HBO movie, Stalin. What is it about Robert Duvall that you think casting directors and film studios looked at him and said, that's our guy. This is the guy that could play someone who's sweethearted, gentle and kind, but could also be ruthless?
I think that the inner power that he had that he gave to all his performances, and, you know, as that quote that he told me reflects, there is truth and there is something that doesn't feel truthful. He always looked for the truth in a performance. And whether it was in a relatively small performance, like it was in the movie The Conversation, which is one of my favorite Francis Ford Coppola movies, he's the second or third lead probably in it. He's not on screen for a great deal of time, but he makes an impression because every time he steps on the screen or steps on a stage, you go, oh, I believe that guy. I believe that, you know, he is Joseph Stalin, as you mentioned. I believe he's Tom Hagen, who knows how to negotiate with the Godfather and all his other characters. I believe he's Colonel Kilgore from Apocalypse Now. You know, he said that when he was filming that scene in Apocalypse Now, the I love the smell of napalm in the morning scene, there was a whole bunch of airplanes that were flying over them. They had them for one take. They could only do it once. And he had to steel himself for it because it was very loud. And as the planes came up, he does it in one take. And he said later on, I didn't flinch because Colonel Kilgore wouldn't flinch. And that's finding the truth of the character and putting it on screen.
One of his famous quotes in real life was, I'll keep on acting till they wipe the drool. You got to love that. And I also, lastly, the voice. He had also that iconic voice, the tone, the timbre. It's kind of one of those guys that if he's speaking and he's not on screen, I know it's Robert Duvall.
He's commanding. He was commanding in person when I met him, and he was commanding on a screen. And that is what you want as a screen actor. You want, whether you are the lead in the scene, the A star in the scene or not, you want eyes to go to you. And Robert Duvall had the ability to make you look at him, and that's what made him a great movie star. We appreciate you joining us, as always. Once again, Richard Crouse reporting on the passing of Hollywood legend Robert Duvall. Thank you so much, Rich. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jamie.